Rates are dropping and prices are gonna skyrocket. And that means that a lot of new inventory is about to hit the real estate market. And guess what? If you're not equipped with what you can negotiate in the game, you're gonna feel lost and you're gonna feel like you don't even know how to play. Today, I'm gonna teach you the 10 major things that you should negotiate on every single real estate transaction.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go!
You wanna hear how I negotiated my very first real estate transaction? Because it is awful. It is ugly. I literally walked up to the house that I wanted to buy, and there was a for sale by owner sign, and the house was listed for $110,000. Now, mind you, this is a tiny little bungalow in a college town, and I had a feeling this house has to be worth more than this. But I actually didn't know what it was worth, which meant I wasn't even prepared to negotiate. But you know what I did? I walked up to the front door, I knocked, and oh my gosh, I got so nervous when this older woman actually came to the door and she said, "What do you want?" And the first words out of my mouth, I kid you not, "I want to buy your house for $100,000. And she said no, and she slammed the door in my face. I can't believe I didn't say, "Hi, my name is Kris. What's your name? Can you show me the house? Can we walk around?" I literally started off by asking for $10,000 off her asking price, which was so stupid. So the purpose of today's video is to make sure that you don't do anything harebrained like I just did. Let me get you prepared for how you literally negotiate like a baller. All right, so this is going to be a masterclass on negotiating and how I negotiate my very best, most aggressive deals. But before I get into the 10 negotiating points, let's just start with, are you even prepared to negotiate? Because from that story I told earlier, I was not prepared. Here's a couple things you want to be aware of. Number one, I want you to understand the market condition that we're in. Are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? Like right now we're in a seller's market. There's not a lot of inventory, and with so few homes on the market, once something hits, there's a ton of people looking for real estate, and that means that you're in potentially for a bidding war. Understanding the market you're in gives you an advantage of knowing how to negotiate. Because when you're in a seller's market, you've got to be wicked fast. That's one of my greatest strategies, is that if I can find a deal that just hits the market, if I can get my offer before anyone else, that's going to give me a huge advantage and hopefully avoid a bidding war. In fact, I'm going to drop one of my favorite tips right now, is that I always have the realtor call the other realtor and drop a verbal offer just to kind of feel how they might receive it. Sometimes they say nothing, they're like, write it up, send it in, and then we will write it up and say, please respond by 5 p.m. today, not tomorrow or the next day, because if it's a really hot deal, I have a need for speed. Similarly though, if it's a buyer's market, I probably have a little bit more time, I can back up and I can negotiate a lot more aggressively. The second thing you need to know before you step into negotiating is, what are similar homes selling for? These are called comparables. And basically a realtor can tell you what the other comparables are, or recent homes that have sold in the last 3 to 6 months that are most like the home that you're going to negotiate on. Like on the house that I was negotiating on for $110,000 that I tried to get for $100,000, if I had known that even then it was worth $150,000, it would have changed my negotiation strategy. Number 3, you got to have your finances lined up. Like, how are you going to actually buy the house if you get a successful negotiation? Can you make offers aggressively with the confidence that a bank has already pre-approved you? Number 4, competition. When there's a lot of competition on a house, I'm not going to make a really aggressive offer, because with lots of competition, likely people are going to bid it up, which means that my first offer kind of needs to be what's called my highest and best offer. And finally, I want you to understand what typical negotiating looks like that I don't like very much. Usually it's tit for tat. I submit my offer, I give you 24 to 48 hours to think about it, then you're going to give me a counter offer and give me 24 to 48 hours to think about it. Shoot, by the time we've gone back and forth a few times, a whole week has gone by. And I'm telling you right now that if you're a savvy real estate investor, or if you're serious about buying this house for you and your family, speed is your friend. And so you can't afford negotiating tactics that basically say, sure, let's give you all the time in the world to decide if, I don't know, like you agree with this, and your mom and your step family and your dead cat. For heaven's sakes, you got to get to a decision. Now, there are 10 things that you can negotiate on when it comes to real estate. Let's go through every one of them. The first one is price. This is usually one of the biggest things that you counter and go back and forth on. I basically say, hi, I want to buy your property for $250,000, and they say, no, we want you to buy it for $275,000. And I say, well, what if I got it for $265,000? And they're like, what about $267,000? And eventually, we've negotiated on the price. But understand that price is not everything. There's all sorts of other things to negotiate on called concessions that can really change the nature of the deal. The second negotiating tactic is closing costs. Like when you buy something like a property, there's going to be thousands of dollars in closing costs. Do you want to pay for those, or do you want to ask them to pay for those? If you've already made an aggressive price offer and you win on price, then you may not want to ask for closing costs, because they may start feeling that you're nickeling and diming them. On the other hand, if you don't really like the price you got, then you may want to go hard and say, fine, then you're paying 100% of my closing costs up to 2% of the value of the property. And then here's another big one. Number 3 is you got repairs and credits. After a home inspection, buyers can request repairs or credits for necessary fixes. Sellers can negotiate which repairs they're willing to address or provide credits for. So here's what it means. I get my inspection back and I'm like, oh my gosh, the furnace is on the brink. It's gonna go out, it's bad. So I can basically say, if you want me to buy your house, seller, I need you to actually change out the furnace and it has to be 80% efficient. Well, they may or may not want to fix the furnace. They might just say instead, we're just going to give you $3,000 in credits towards a new furnace. You fix it. Now, this is a big deal. The reason why I will pay a few $100s for an inspector to come in is because if there's leaks on the roof or potential leaks because of how old the roof is, or if I find problems with any other part of the property or the foundation or termites, it gives me an opportunity to say, hey, I know we kind of agreed on this one price, it now needs to be lowered or you have to fix these things. And it actually gives you quite a bit of negotiating control. Number 4, let's talk about contingencies. This is where you're basically saying, hey, you can accept my offer, but it's contingent on certain things happening. For example, maybe it's contingent upon an appraisal. If the appraisal doesn't come in and support this price, then I have the ability to walk from the house. I'm not going to buy it. Having it contingent upon an inspection means you're telling them up front, I'm going to get this property inspected, and if I find flaws or problems with it, I have the right to come back to you and basically ask for you to make some adjustments in the price, give me some credits, or fix some stuff. It's important to note that you get to negotiate the time frame on these contingencies. For example, you might say, hey, I'm doing this deal at this price, but it's contingent on the appraisal coming in at this supported price or on my inspection passing. The 5th thing that you have the power to negotiate on, closing dates. Like, are you gonna buy this in 4 weeks or are you gonna buy it in 6 weeks? The house I'm living in right now is a multi-million-dollar house in a gated community. And when I bought it, I actually bought it on terms. I bought it as a lease option. I gave them a down payment and I said, I've got 9 months to get a loan on this property. Now they agreed to it, which was great because I needed to get another year of finances under my belt so that I could go to the bank and actually qualify to buy this particular property. Number 6 is a fun one. This is about personal property. Items like appliances, furniture, fixtures, these are all negotiable. Like, these are all things that you can ask for, but let's say the house has something really special. Let's say it has a really lit up neon sign. You're like, the neon sign stays with the house, or maybe they put something in the backyard that they might haul off, or maybe they've got a 5th wheel. The 5th wheel stays with the house. Like, it's important to understand in real estate that you have the power to negotiate anything. Like, hey, for the next year, you're gonna pay for lawn service. You're gonna mow the lawn, or you're gonna pay for somebody to mow the lawn, and if you do that, I'll buy the house. And it's like, wait, can you do that? Yeah, you actually can do that. Like, you might want to check the garage. There might be a 1965 and a half cherry red restored Mustang that maybe just needs to come with the house. Number 7 is a home warranty. A home warranty basically says, hey, when I buy this house, I want the seller to pay for the home warranty so that if dishwashers go out, appliances go out, if I have a problem with the roof leaking, basically a whole bunch of these different things that could go wrong. I don't want to have problems during the first 24 months that I live in the house. And so they could pay $1,200 or whatever for a home warranty that basically says your first couple years, you're scot-free on all maintenance and issues. The 8th item that you can negotiate is occupancy terms. For example, if the sellers are living there, you get to actually dictate when they move out. They may say, hey, can you buy the house but rent it back to us for a couple of months because that's when we're actually relocating? And you might say, yeah, that works for me, but I'm going to charge you a premium on rent. Maybe it's $1,900 a month instead of $1,400 a month for the inconvenience that you actually can't take occupancy soon enough. Similarly, the house might be vacant and you may want to negotiate how soon you can actually get in on the property. I did a deal once where I needed to get in soon so I could actually do some of the repairs and maintenance myself because I was going to flip the house and I wanted to shrink down the time that I borrowed money to basically get the house fixed up so I could get it on the market as fast as possible. Number 9 is earnest money. Now, this is actually kind of a big deal. Earnest money is the initial deposit that ultimately shows the buyer's commitment. For example, if I gave a really aggressive offer on the home and said I have $10 of earnest money, they're going to look at me and say, this isn't a very serious buyer. If you put down $1,000, that's pretty typical. But let's just say you put down $5,000 or $10,000. I've actually offered a greater deposit up front when I knew that I wanted to commit to them that my aggressive offer was going to be safe and that they weren't going to waste time with the possibility of the deal falling out. Now, how much you offer in earnest money is kind of up to you. But just know that if you're a nasty negotiator and you're like, I want the most aggressive price and I want you to pay for my home warranty and my inspection, you have all these contingencies, and on top of that, I'm gonna give you $1 for earnest money, they might start looking at you and saying, you know what? I don't really like this buyer. Let's go with someone else. The opposite strategy is to submit what's called a clean offer. And a clean offer is, I'm gonna give you a full price and I'm not asking for anything out of the ordinary. And I'll do that when I'm trying to get a sweetheart deal and they're like, I don't like that price, but look at all the other things that they're not asking. So if they come back and want to negotiate hard, I say, fine, I'll pay your higher price, but now I need you to pay contingencies and I need you to pay for these fees and I want you to cover these things. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, got it. Like maybe the lower price is the better option for us because we don't want to fix that crap. We don't have to want to deal with it. The 10th item that you can negotiate is seller concessions. Sellers can offer concessions to buyers, such as paying for repairs, covering parts of the closing costs, or reducing the price. Buyers can request these concessions during negotiations. So just be aware that it's not just you that's negotiating. They may already upfront say, hey, we know this is a problem, like the tree fell on the house and we didn't get this thing fixed. So we're just telling you that before you actually buy it, we're gonna fix that one thing. And that's just another open dialogue of negotiation for you. Now, how often do people use these 10 different points of negotiation? I use them on every single deal. Literally every single one of them is a consideration. My brother, he's a general manager at a car selling shop, and he told me that you either win on the price, you win on the warranty, or you win on the financing. And I said, what do you mean exactly? He says, well, Kris, if I want to sell that car for $32,000 and they beat me up on price and get it for 30 grand, well, I'm losing $2,000. But if I can get them to pay higher on financing charges, or if I can get them to buy a warranty, I can make up that difference. And then guess what? It's okay. He said, at a car dealership, we just got to win in one of the ways. Let me teach you when it comes to the art of negotiating real estate deals, don't let price point be the only thing you can win on. Because you may take a higher price, but then all of a sudden they're paying the closing costs and they're repairing things and they're fixing things, and it actually worked out in your favor. The more flexible you can be when negotiating a deal, the more deals you're actually gonna strike. You just have to learn to look at the deal a little bit more like a car dealership. Do I need to win on price or do I need to win on my concessions? Listen, I've been in the real estate investing game now for 2 decades. I've learned a lot negotiating my last 6,000 plus deals. Negotiating is an art, and it's something that takes time to practice. If you're a subscriber on my channel and you're like, well, Kris, I follow you because I want to learn how to improve negotiating for my own real estate deals, I want you to know that I already have pre-negotiated a lot of sick deals that I can turn your way. I call that real estate partnering. That's where we basically join forces, and instead of you negotiating a deal and maybe getting an ROI at 12%, which is what Forbes says the average investor gets, my average over the last few years is 34%. So it's a lot more than double that number right there. If we partner up and we join forces, I'll take you to the markets where I get the very best deals, and then we split the profits and winnings 50-50, and I'm doing 100% of all the work. If that sounds intriguing to you, click the link below, learn about partnering with me. I'll handle all the negotiations and we will win every single time. Well, my friend, it's a new year, it's a new you, and if you want to know how I'm playing the real estate game in 2024, it's very different than 2023. Click right here and let me give you my personal guide as a real estate investor to how I'm winning in the market right now.